Welcome to my channel of Miel Hebraica. Miel Hebraica means Hebrew honey. It's based on a passage that comes from Psalm 119, 103. How sweet your word is to my taste, sweeter than honey in my mouth. Debash is the word for honey in Hebrew. And I've been running this channel for a little while already, well, since a few months ago, in Spanish for my Spanish work or for my classes in São Paulo Seminary. I've been teaching Hebrew for a little over 40 years in São Paulo Seminary, and so I do have a little bit of experience in the matter. So this is actually the very first time that I'm doing this in English. I've been doing this in Spanish for a while already. So, but we'll get to some of the basics in Hebrew, and I'm sure we'll see some very interesting things. We'll start with Kof. Kof is one of the letters of the Hebrew alphabet. And when it started out in the paleographic form, that's really the primitive form of the letter way back when the alphabet was being invented. It was invented somewhere in the Sinai as some people gathered some of the phonetic symbols out of the hieroglyphics, and then they developed an alphabet based on those symbols. And it started out with a line with a knot on the top. It's a chord with a knot on one end, and it's also known as a measuring line. The knot is there to establish how long the line is or what it can be tied to. And so this was in use all the way up until the exile, until the Babylonians hauled the Jewish people off to Babylon. And then after that, it changed a little bit. The change wasn't a whole lot. You still had the vertical line. You still had sort of an arm on the thing. And this is from the Dead Sea Scrolls, from the Isaiah scroll of Dead Sea Scrolls. And today, it looks like this. And we still have to think of it in more or less the same way. A line with a knot on the top. Okay, just when you see the line, knot on the top, that's a kof. And you can write it out as kof. That's a Q-O-P-H or Q-O-F. Doesn't really make a whole lot of difference how you write it out in English, but it's the same thing. And Lamentations 2, verse 8, the Lord determined to destroy the wall of daughter Zion. He placed a measuring line. Okay, here it is. Nata, kaf. Okay, kav. Kav is it's this word right here, kav. And that is a measuring line. And when you see this, you got the line right here, the knot on the end to establish the distance. And there it is. You can just sort of visualize what that thing is doing right there. Kav. Okay, it's a measuring line here. Okay, Hashav, Yahweh, Jehovah, the Lord. Hashihit. Okay, he determined to take the place apart. Okay, to destroy it. Hamot, the wall. Bat Shion. Okay, the wall of daughter of Zion. Bat is a daughter in Zion, of course. Shion. Okay, Shion. It's Tzadeh, and then a Hirgyod, and then an On, okay? Chiyon, okay? Nata, Kav, and he placed, he planted, he set up a measuring line. Lo, Hishiv, and he did not bring it back. He didn't haul it back. His hand, okay? Yada, okay? Yada. This is, we're going to be looking at some of the very basic words in the alphabet, and this is one of them right here. Yad, okay? The hand. It's also a paleographically based word, so we'll get to that sometime sooner or later. Mebale, to be destroyed. Okay, to destroy. That's this word here. Mebale, beleach. Okay, baleach, blasted out. Okay, mebaleach. Vehabel, hel, hamo. Very symbolic. It says grieve. It's actually going to shed a lot of tears, okay, to be just very moisty in the eyes, okay. Hel, that's the rampart. Homa, that's the wall. Now here you can see, if you can take a quick look here, Homa, wall, Homat, okay. This is the construct form. In other words, it's a sequence form of wall of the son of the daughter of Zion, and this is the wall. Okay, this is an absolute form. And this is a sequenced form, okay? This is what they call a construct form. It sequences with something else. Okay, Homa, Ve, Yachdu, Amalu. Entonces, And this also, they waste away together. Yahad. It's all one deal as these two things melt away. Basically, it's kind of saying, hey, they're shedding tears and they're going to melt away. That's one reason why we study Hebrew. You get to see a lot of these vivid imageries in the passages. Okay, Kof. This letter here, we've got Ruth 2 verse 3. And so Ruth went and gathered grain in the fields behind the harvesters. Now she just happened to end up in the portion of the field belonging to Boaz, who was from the clan of Elimelech. Okay, and it's very interesting because each spot where this Kof appears in the passage, something is related to how it's all tied together. Okay, this is one of the nice things about this having Hebrew. It all seems to tie together. Okay, that's Kof. Telech, and she went. She walked and she went. Okay, they don't bother putting those two verbs in Hebrew. It is two verbs, and she walked and she went. I guess the reason that in Hebrew they repeat that is that she went with a lot of determination. Okay, telech tabo, telaket. Okay, and she gathered. Okay, and she gathered. So here you got the kof right in the middle of this verb. Telaket, okay, telaket, kof. That means she gathered. In other words, she was there among the grain, gathered it together, and tied it up, okay, telaket. And she gathered, beshde, in the field, achare, after, behind, ha, koshrim, okay. Now this one's got another kof in it. Look, take a look at this thing right here, koshrim. It's got an O on the top. That's a vowel right there. The koshrim are the harvesters. So what do the harvesters do? They're out in the field. First of all, they cut off the grain with their sickles and stuff. They cut off the grain, and then they hold it together, and then they pull off a little 3 or 4 strands of grain. They wrap it around the sheave, and they tie it up. So then they stand it up on one side so it can dry out. So that's the koshrim, the ones who are tying things up out in the fields. They cut it off and tie things up with the sheaves. Okay. Veyeker mekara. Okay. Wow. Twice. You got a kof here and you got a kof here. These are basically the same words. And this is, it just so happened. Okay. She just managed to tie in. Okay. She just managed to, it just so happened. It just happened to tie in. It just was a, now, the fact that it's repeated, means that it wasn't something that just happened all by itself. It happened because the Lord made it happen, okay? And it so happened, mikara. So you have here, it so happened that it happened, okay? The happening happened, okay? Things got tied together the way they should be tied together, okay? Mikara, yekre, mikre, okay? Here we got kre, mikre. Okay, he lakat. Okay, this is the portion. Okay, here we got portion, and sure enough, we have another kof right in the middle of this verb. It's a verb. No, it's a noun. The portion, and you guys ask yourself the question. Okay, when you're making a portion, and you're going to kind of go back to the time that Joshua was spreading out the land or portioning out the land to the different tribes. Each tribe got its portion, and then all the people within the tribe portioned out their inheritance. In other words, this family got that, and that family got that, and that family got that. And the way you did it is you did it with a cord. You laid out the cord here to make up the portion, okay? So you take a knotted cord, lay it out, okay? This portion belongs to Boaz, okay? Here it is, Boaz, okay? And then once you had laid out the cords, you had to put some stones on the corners, and of course it was very strongly prohibited to move those stones. So once the things were laid out, then that portion of land belonged to that particular family, okay? Or that particular person here, Boaz. Asher, Mim, Shaphat, from the clan of Elimelech. And I am just going past my house right now, so you're going to hear some of that. It's kind of a busy street outside. So, this brings us to a meditation or some way to understand Psalm 37, verse 34. And here you have, you start with a chord, kav, and you can take this word chord and also turn it into a verb. That's what's happened here, kave, okay? And very literal. We start out with very little translation, which might be a little hard to follow, but it makes a lot of sense in Hebrew. Kaveh, okay, tie up, al Yahweh, to the Lord, Veshomer, and guard his way, derko, ve yerumicha, okay, and he will lift you up, he will exalt you. It's almost a praise thing going on here. Rimucha, reshet, to inherit, eretz, the earth, be kirat, and then you'll the chopping up of the evil ones you will see, okay? Bekirat Rashim Tire, you will see the evil ones getting chopped up. And this is probably a little bit too literal. In other words, when a group of translators is working, you go, okay, what is it really in Hebrew? Da, da, da. But would people understand it? Well, let's smooth it out a little bit, and we'll go for kaveh, wait for the Lord, keep his way, derko, and he will exalt you, and you will watch here, okay, you will see the wicked, Rashim, their destruction, okay, you will inherit the land. And modern translations, the whole matter of waiting, it maybe would just suggest sitting around and just waiting, but there's actually a little bit more active activity involved, and that is rely on the Lord. Okay, kaveh. Okay, rely on the Lord. Obey his commands, although this is a singular, but it is derko, his ways, and then he will permit you to possess re'eshet aretz, to possess the land, and you will see the demise, the cutting up of the evil men. And so here we have kaveh, rely on the Lord. So we see this progression here of what's happening in the Hebrew language. Kav is a knotted cord. In other words, you get a knot on the top, and then you get a cord that hangs from it. And it's used for measuring things out, or it's also used for tying things together. And then a kaveh means hold firmly to the cord. Okay, kaveh, grab on, hold on, grab it. Okay, so back in the previous psalm that we were looking at, just grab on to the Lord. Okay, kaveh, rely on Him, wait on Him. Okay, and that brings us to something. You can take this is a noun just based on the very deep root of it. And this is a noun that has a few more things tied to it. In other words, you have kaveh, and then you take tikva, okay, that's a kof vav here in the middle, and tikva then is hope. In other words, if you just make a noun out of this whole sequence, you end up with hope. And tikva, by the way, is a name that even modern Jewish people use. So it means hope, and it's a very beautiful word, a very beautiful concept. And who are we going to hope in? We're going to hope in our Lord, place our trust in Him, and hold on with both hands. May the Lord bless and keep you in this day. We'll see you on the next time.